Hello everybody, it's Chelsea again. I hope that you are doing well. I'm so sorry. I have not filmed a video in my usual filming space in front of my bookshelves in a little bit because I have just been so busy when my husband's not home, and then when he's here I have time to film. So I don't like filming when he's in the room. I don't know what it is about me, but I do apologize for that. I will eventually get to my shelves again, but for now I'm still gonna make some manga content. I hope that doesn't bother you too much, even if the location's weird. So today's video is manga recommendations, but this is for people who want to get into shoujo. So none of these are shoujo series. I want to be very clear about that. Some people don't care about demographics. Some people care a lot about demographics. So I'm kind of in the middle here personally. I think that they do matter when it comes to mislabeling something, but I don't care personally what I read. I just tend to read a lot more shoujo and a lot of shoujo romance. But if a shonen has romance in it, I think that's a good transitional note, along with other demographics that I think have romance and shoujo-like elements within them. So this video is going to be just some recommendations of non-shoujo demographic series that I think would be a good transitional manga series to read to then jump into a shoujo series. So I hope you enjoy. So the first series I want to talk about today is a series called You and I Are Polar Opposites. This is a shonen series published by Viz and I believe Shonen Jump. I'll put a picture of it here. It is a comedy. It is a romance. It is a high school series that I think has some drama-like elements to it. So the reason I'm recommending this series, I have literally only read the first volume. I don't want you guys to think that I have read the entire series because I don't even think the entire series is out quite yet. But if you get the Shonen Jump app, I do believe that you can read what is currently published digitally there, which that subscription is like $1 or $2. It's super cheap, super affordable. So this is a very easy series to find if you've got a mobile device or a tablet. However you are able to read this, I'm not sure if it's online, but it's definitely a good series that I think would help you transition into a light shoujo. And when I say light shoujo, I mean a series that isn't super heavy on the drama, because sometimes people aren't really into the drama aspect of a shoujo. They more want a funny romance or a friendship story or something that's kind of silly and has a little bit of risque jokes within it. And I think that this series would be a really good one for you to start with. Mostly from this first volume, we get a good sense of our characters. I think that they're very, very interesting and fun to follow. Our girl, she's very eccentric. She's like a yaru. It's definitely a out there personality type that sticks out, and she's definitely that. She's really fun, so if you like funny, loud, alternative, quirky girls, this might be a good series for you. If you like quiet, more opening up later on when they get to know you kind of guys, I think that this guy would be for you. I just think that this series has a lot of potential for me. I think I'm going to really enjoy it when I buy more volumes of this. I am collecting it physically, so I'll be getting to read more of this later on. But I do think this would make a really fun transitional manga for you to read if you're someone who is interested in a lighter little romance / comedy. Next on my list, I have Ranma Half. This is also a shonen. I'm a little upset because Ranma Half, along with other Rumiko Takahashi series like this one, they are not put in the Shonen Jump catalog. And there are several reasons for that, but I'm not going to get into that video. That is for someone who is much more knowledgeable about demographics and the reasoning behind magazines and what they publish. But I still am very upset that she is not a creator that has been featured in a Shonen Jump that I'm aware of. I could be totally wrong, and if I am, please feel free to correct me in the comments. I'm looking at two posters I have of Rumiko Takahashi's series. I have an Inuyasha poster and I have a Ranma Half poster on my wall right behind my camera. I'll have to show it to you. You can literally see them right there, right behind the camera. But yeah, this series is phenomenal, and it was my first manga. No, it was my second manga that I ever picked up to read. The first one was Fruits Basket. This was my second manga I ever chose to pick up and try to read. It's the flipped editions, the ones I got, so I do have a lot of nostalgia with my copies of it. While the physicals might be a little more difficult to find, they do have some 2 or 3-in-1s that are a little easier to find. You can read this in digital formats, I think on a few different sites, so it's not impossible to get copies of this in your hands and read them. Not to mention there are 2, maybe 3 fantastic versions of the anime. I'm currently watching the new one. I only watched a couple episodes of the older ones. If you don't want to read it, you want to try it out first in the anime, I highly recommend that. Ranma half is, or 1/2, I've been told both. I think I used to say Ranma 1/2, but I keep catching myself saying Ranma half, so sorry if I'm wrong. But Ranma 1/2 is a series about this guy named Ranma. He's Japanese, but he is in China. He is training Kung Fu, different martial arts. So I had to stop filming because my camera battery died. So I hope that I can finish what I was saying about Ranma half. Pretty much this series has a good bit of romance within it. And there are some really precious and tender moments between our main 2 characters, Akane and Ranma, that I think are very well written. Rumiko Takahashi knows romance. She knows action. She knows comedy. She knows slapstick. She knows how to do those things so very well and so thoroughly that I feel like I'm watching a shoujo with just some crazy action and stuff in it. But this is technically a shonen, so I think that if you're into romance, this is a very good transitional manga as well, along with the anime, if you want to watch that instead. Next up is My Dress Up Darling. This is a seinen, technically. I'm not going to be the person that says this manga or this anime is shoujo in my eyes. This one is definitely not. I do get people trying to put other demographics into shoujo just because it's a romance. But that's just entirely incorrect. Seinen is it just has a different vibe. I don't know if you guys understand what I mean when I say that. I know what I mean, but this series is definitely from the male gaze, and I love that about it. I wish we had more romance, tender male characters that are real, because I know men like this, that were for men, because it just says good things whenever a series allows a guy to cry, allows a guy to have hobbies that aren't just manly things, you know. It's healthy for a guy to have other hobbies, and I love Gojo in this series. He is such a sweet guy. He's not perfect, but he's got like all of these hobbies that he likes to do that are not traditionally guy hobbies, and he dresses in a way that isn't like the coolest thing to dress up in. He doesn't really care about how he looks to people. Likes this girl, and she obviously really likes him, and it's just this cute little awkward hormone-filled interaction between the 2 of them, and it's not like entirely horny, but it does have that in here. I haven't gotten past what the anime has done. I've read a little bit past, but I've stopped just because I want to wait and read it all at once. So I'm not fully caught up on this series. It could totally change from the volume that I have read and from the anime that's not been continued yet. But I did want to point this one out because there are some really cute and sexy scenes in this that I think are possibly indicative of some shoujo, especially newer shoujo. There have been a couple that I've finished lately, like Waiting for Spring and Imakoi, that actually have them doing the nasty at the end. Of course they don't show it, but they do show them about to do that. So it is kind of creeping into shoujo more than it used to. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think that is indicative of how more mature readers are reading these series now, and not just young kids, young girls. I just think My Dress Up Darling is a really good transitional one because it does do a little bit the sexy time, but also it's really fun, it's really funny. It's not super serious other than talking about being true to yourself, and I just really appreciate that about the series. There's also a lot of drama and a lot of personal growth within these girl characters that he interacts with for cosplay. They learn about themselves, they learn about each other and friendships, and it's just really cool to see those interactions done from a male perspective. So I just really appreciate this series a lot. It gets a lot of bad rep, and I totally understand that if you're someone who doesn't like it, but I think that this could be a good transitional for someone who is curious about shoujo. Number 4 on this list is Kubo Will Not Let Me Be Invisible. Kubo won't let me be invisible or whatever. This one, for a long time, I didn't really look into it. I thought it might be a shoujo, but it's not. It is absolutely a shonen. And it's a very soft, even in the drawings, it's a very soft manga. I haven't watched the anime. I believe there is an anime out for this. But it's cutesily drawn. It's very soft in the way that it's drawn. Everyone has moments where their expressions are very cutesy and dreamlike, I think. And the colors, even on the covers and the colored pages, are very soft themselves. So it's a very soft vibe. It's a very gentle vibe. It feels very easy to digest. It's not something that you're going to have to like think about a lot. It's not like the deepest manga I've ever read. But we've got this main guy named Shiraishi, or however you say his name, I'm sorry. He is pretty much invisible. No one notices him, even if he's been there all day in the classroom. Everyone doesn't think he's there. He misses, like, one of his teachers or his principal notices him, but just barely. Almost gets missed when they call roll every day because he's just that invisible. Girls don't notice him, whatever. And he doesn't really blame the women for that. And I really appreciate that he's not like some bitter incel kind of character. He's actually a pretty nice guy, pretty chill guy. And likable, and he just needs to gain self-confidence. But the girl that sits next to him one day, she just notices him and starts talking to him, and they kind of develop a little crush on each other. And it's just really sweet to see the female friendships in this story, because not only do we get like the romance that is like the center of the story, but we also get a really sweet little congregation of friendships melding together, and him learning that he is worth the time of day for people and that he is worth noticing, but not being stuck up about it. And then the girl realizing that, you know, I can be a little more forward with the guys that I like, and not every shonen romance has to be super sexualized, because this one isn't. There were a couple of moments that you could say were a little more sexually charged, but that's romance. Romance in general is going to have tension in it, so I think that that's very natural. This is the most safe for work romance that I could ever recommend. I think there was nothing in here that pushed the envelope or would make me nervous to read this at a school or nervous to read this around my parents or anything. So I think this is a very, very clean shonen to read that is a good transition into shoujo, and I've mentioned that before in several videos where I've talked about this series, just because it is so sweet and it is so soft, and the friendships and the love between the female characters, because it goes from both perspectives, from the guy's perspective, from the girl's perspective, and they did such a good job of not making the women seem like brain dead sex objects, because it happens a lot in shonen. Not that I hate those series, I do still read stuff like that, but sometimes it gets a little tiring to just read women who are literally just a pair of boobs. Like, that's literally all they are. And this one doesn't do that. I think that they all have their own individual problems, their own individual desires and dreams, and issues that they need to work out with each other and themselves. And it's just really cleansing shonen manga to read. So I really, really recommend this one if you're interested in starting up some shoujo. And last but not least on this list is a little bit different. Some people might disagree with me on this one, and that is totally acceptable. I totally get it. I'm gonna put Interviews with Monster Girls on this list. Now, it is also a seinen, and I have not finished the manga. I want to be real honest about that one. The reason I'm putting it on this list is because I think that from what I have read, yes, there is some tension and like more adult spicy scenes in this, but it is in character with what is happening in the anime and the manga. It's not just some random personality trait or random thing that happened, like we saw up someone's skirt or something. No, it makes sense because there's a woman who is a succubus. That's what she does. But she's still very classy, at least in the parts that I've read. It could change. So it's not like she's just a sex object, but it is part of her character. So it has to kind of be there. But then there are also other characters like young girls who are different monster girls. And I don't think from what I saw that they were sexualized. You could argue to say that it is implied, at least in what I read and watched at the beginning, that there's like a romance blossoming between him and the students, which I don't think that's the case, but I could be wrong. I think this is a consensual adult teacher relationship developing. I might eat my words when I finally do read the series, but from what I read and watched of the anime and what little part of the manga I have read, it doesn't feel like that's where it's headed to me. And of course, I want to just be completely transparent. I haven't read it, so I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, just ignore this. If you've read it or watched it and you know I'm wrong, just let me experience it. Don't spoil it for me, please. But for now, I'm going to recommend it as a transitional into shoujo / josei on that one, because it's got romance in it. It's got a male character who is the main guy who we are living through in this series, and it does sometimes jump to female perspectives, but the guy is interested in these women who are monster girls, and not for, I think, bad reasons, but for more of like science and academic reasons. He's really interested in like why they're here, what do they do, what does their body do, like not in a creepy way. What does it mean? And sometimes that leads to like some very questionable situations and things that he wants to think about or ask them, but isn't appropriate. And sometimes he does not ask that question, and sometimes he does. Your interpretation, totally valid. I just think that this one has some really fun, quirky female relationships. Those girls are so sweet to each other. I absolutely love reading when the girls are interacting with each other, more than I even enjoy the main guy when it's his turn. I like the succubus teacher lady. I like all of the girls that I've met so far in the series. They're super sweet. They care about each other. They want to learn about each other and help each other through their issues with getting into society, melding with society, because in this world, it's not super common for everyone to have powers. Like, it's just a few people. So I think it's a really good transitional piece for a shoujo / josei reader. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my recommendations. If you have any other recommendations, super specific especially, that's more fun, let me know what you want to see, because I love doing these, especially if I have enough that I've read that makes sense for that. So feel free to leave those in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!